All right. So, suspension, strut, and spring completely removed out. Okay, here we go. So the front strut and spring is completely removed from the car. So you may be asking yourself, what is this green spring? So what this is called a lowering spring. This is by Tein or Tein. This lowering spring allows the car to be lowered. The only difference between this and something like this is that this is a adjustable coilover. So again, you could adjust the camber on the top, you could adjust the preload of the spring, and you could adjust the ride height, including the dampening of this. So this is a fully adjustable suspension when you install this. If you just install the lowering spring, it does what is named lowering. It lowers the car. Some lowering springs are uncomfortable, some aren't. This one, I'm going to rate it as comfortable. There is barely any performance upgrades when you do this. If you're putting it on the stock strut, then you're probably losing performance instead of gaining. You'll still have the similar comfort to stock. I didn't feel any bounciness, anything weird when I had this on. It actually felt good, like comfortable, and it gave it a nice ride height. That's all it does. If you pair this lowering spring with a performance strut, then you're gaining performance there. The only difference is that it won't be adjustable. If you get a coilover like this one, then you could adjust it to however you want the settings for that car to be. So let's get this out of the way and get this bad boy D2 RS coilover installed. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do before installing the coilover is that we're going to release these Allen screws here to adjust the camber. I'm going to do that right now. It's going to be pretty easy. I have here the socket and the Allen key. The Allen key is a number 5, and it should just be a snap when loosening it up. I'm going to loosen it up here. There we go. Because right now it's in the middle and we want it to be in the negative camber position. And I'm going to show you this in just a sec. Okay. So they're loosened up. You see how you have the degrees there? Basically, you want this to be pushed to the far inside of the vehicle in order to get that negative camber. That's why we have like these Allen screws here, or bolts, or whatever these guys are called. They loosen up, and then we could, once the strut is on the vehicle, I could push it to the negative camber side and have everything towards the inside of the vehicle. I'm going to show you how that actually might be able to do it now. Let me see. There we go. There we go. So now is towards the inside of the vehicle. All right, let's get this installed. And if it's not towards the inside of the vehicle, I could always adjust it and then tie it from the top of the strut mount. So let's get this installed here. So I'm going to use the hardware that came with my car, not the one that came with the used coilovers. They look a little rusty, and I'd rather use this one. All right, let's push this back towards the inside of the car and get this aligned. Oops, sorry. And get this aligned correctly here. So you want to make sure that your strut is aligned properly here. It should be like that. I'm going to grab the 3 bolts so that way they could hold it from the top. Perfect. All right, so now it's being held from the top strut mount using the bolts from the top, and now we're just going to align this here. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see pretty well there, the angle of where the rotor and the hub right now is too low for the too low for the coilover. So what you're gonna need to do is get a jack and raise it up just a tad bit. Because remember, if you adjust your coilovers, that means in this position, the car is gonna be lowered. The hub has to go up in order for it to meet the coilover, meaning your car is gonna be lowered. Okay. So we're just gonna align it there properly and make sure that the holes are pretty much in the center. So that way we don't damage the threads of the bolt as they're going in. All right, let's grab these bolts and start putting them in. Might be too high, too low there. There we go. Okay, that's a good one. So I'm just gonna grab a little anti-seize and put it on these bolts, because if I ever want to remove this, I don't want to deal with stuck bolts. You don't have to put so much, just a little dap and it'll be good. Okay. So that's in there. Let me get the bottom one now. Same thing, a little dap of anti-seize. And that's it. All right. Just gotta make sure it goes on the other side here. Yep. Just grab the mallet here and hit it. Perfect. And now we're just going to grab the 19mm bolts here, or nuts, screw it in. Same thing with the bottom one. So basically the reverse order of removing it. That's all you're doing here. Giving us a nice thread, because I'm going to use the impact gun to get it back on there. And the same 19mm close end. Okay, that's on there. Okay, that's also on there. And we just got to do the top. And zip tie. We have to zip tie the speed sensor to the coilover, because the coilover doesn't come with the proper clipping for the speed sensor, and just screw in the brake line back on there. So let's start with the brake line. The coilover does come with a slot where you could screw in the brake line, so that's good. The only difference is that instead of being in the front, it's going to be in the rear now. And I'll show you a close-up once I have everything installed. So the front coilovers are fully installed. I just have to tighten up the, I guess these are called the coil adjusters. Not sure what they're called. I'm gonna look those up, but I'm gonna bring you at a close up to show you how you tighten these guys up. So what you're gonna need is a set of these. You have for the top one and for the bottom one. It's the smaller one. I usually keep these if I buy any coilover because they're usually universal for all coilovers. For example, this one. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hook it from the top part and from the bottom and make sure that they're tight there. So we're gonna do that right now. Oh, I loosened it. Let's go the other way. I think I am loosening it. Yep. Let's go up, actually. Oh, no. Yeah. So this way it's loosen. This way it's tight. So we're gonna now make sure that's tight there. There we go. And also do the same thing for the bottom. The bottom is just one. And if you go this way, you're loosening it. This way, you're tightening it. So tighten it up here. All right. And we're going to leave it with what the previous owner had it because I saw his ride height. And I think that's a comfortable ride height for me at the moment. So we're going to leave it like that. Once we're done with the rear one, which I'm going to show you what we're going to do there, we're going to drop the car down and see the ride height and see if everything looks good. The rear camber is going to be awful because of the type of suspension that the rear has. I'm going to show you that in a moment, but let's get to there then. Okay, so we're moving on now to the rear. The rear is pretty easy when it comes to removing that one bolt that's holding the strut, which is the dampener. And then the other one is inside of the trunk in by the quarter panel here. The hard part comes when you have to remove the spring because, like I said earlier, the rear is a divorce setup where you have the dampening alone, no spring, and then you have the spring to the back of it like this. So it basically looks like that. Removing the spring is a little difficult because of the lowering spring from Tein. The car was lowered or raised in terms of suspension. The suspension was raised up, so now it's compressing the spring. So if it was the stock spring, it'll be a little easier. I could just pry down on the hub or anywhere and pull out the spring. But because this is a lowering spring, it needs to be compressed. I went to the nearest auto parts store to rent the tool, and they gave me a spring compressor, but not the one that I wanted. So I'm going to be using this incorrectly in order to remove that spring. I did it on the passenger side this way and it worked, but this is going to be the incorrect way of using this tool. About let's say 70% or 60% doing it right, but then the rest, the way that I'm going to be hooking it up to the spring is going to be completely incorrect. I just need to compress the spring just a little bit to pull it out. So I'm going to get that started. Once I remove the tensioning on the dampening here. So like I said, that is just one bolt and it's a 14 millimeter bolt on the bottom. So I'm going to get that started now. I already added PB Blaster to it, so it should be pretty easy to get it off. Let's see here. All right. So I take that back. It is not that easy to remove. We're gonna grab the pry bar and the cheater bar and see if we can remove this with the 14. So I take that back. We're not gonna do a pry bar and the cheater bar to like, it was more the breaker bar and the cheater bar. So let's grab the same 14 millimeter socket and try to see if we could get this bolt loosened here. Okay, let's try to see it there. It's turning. It's definitely turning. It's just gonna be a tight. I don't want to round it off either. There we go. Now we should be good. Should be loose now, enough for the impact gun to take it out. I'm gonna hit it soft so it doesn't. There we go. And bolt is out. So that's good. Dampening is loose. And now what I could do is insert the spring compressor under the spring and try to do the best that I can to remove it. I'm gonna do a time lapse of this because it does take a long time to set this spring compressor tool up the incorrect way, like I said from the beginning, and get this spring out. So let me try that right now.
I just need to know what's on your mind. You can call my name, I'll be alright.
So just showing you a close-up here of what I had to do. So let's go to the bottom here so you can see it. So this is the fork, and this is the 19 bolt that you have to turn in order to compress these hooks that hook onto the spring and compresses down, and then it removes from the chassis. But that's about it. And just like that, the spring is out with that top coupling there. We're gonna put this aside, as if anybody's interested, I'm gonna be selling these. If you want it for your 8th gen SI, they fit, I believe, sedan and coupes. It's all one fit. If you want these, hit me up in my Instagram page, Joe_A.S.A.P_garage, and hit me up if you want these. Yeah, I'll put them aside for you at a cost. All right, so let's move these guys out the way here. And now we're gonna go to the final step of going to the trunk to remove the cover and the last bolt that's holding the dampening. And then we could start with the installation of the D2 coilovers to the rear. All right, so we're gonna do this one pretty quick because it is cold out here, and I'm gonna show you quickly what needs to be done. So in the interior of the trunk of the vehicle, you have three basically flathead screw pins or plastic pins that connect the cover to the chassis. You're just going to remove those. And then when you peel open the cover, you have on the other side a 14mm nut, which has a long thread, and you're going to be here all day with a closed-ended socket. If you have a smaller socket that fits an impact gun, you could be done with this quick, but I don't, so I have to be here all day, basically unscrewing this nut. So I'm gonna get back to it and try to see if I could drop it. I already removed the nut, and let's see. All right, that should be good. Let me see if I can remove the strut here. All right, let's see. Let's give it a few more bangs here with a mallet. And there it is, the old dampening. I'm going to now put on the new one with the spring on there and start screwing back. I'm going to basically see you on the next scene, which I'm going to show you the complete setup, but it's just basically the reverse of it. We're just going to put in the 14mm bolt to hold in the new dampening of this. Make sure that you keep these rubber grommets here. That's basically what allows you to have cushion in between the chassis and the dampening. And then we're going to basically install the spring. And I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. And that completes the installation of the D2 RS coilovers on this 8th Gen Civic Si. In front of me, I have the old setup, which is the Tein lowering springs with the stock shocks. Just to do a little recap, what I did was to install the rear damper strut. You have to have a T30 uh, adapter to hold in place the strut, and the 14mm close-ended wrench, socket wrench that I have, that I'm just basically using. If you have an extension that fits there and it's a little smaller and it gets the job quicker, then do that. I just had that close-ended one. and the T30 adapter with a socket wrench, and I used it pretty quickly. The other thing that I want to go over is the dampening. So, like I said, this is 36-way adjustable, 36 to the hard, full, meaning that the compression of the preload is going to be stiff, of the shocks is going to be stiff. Basically, what I do is that I put it to this max hard setting, and then I count back to his halfway point and adjust 2 points for the front, 2 clicks on the front, and 4 clicks on the rear. Since this is a front wheel drive, you want the rear to be a little stiffer. So that's what I did. I'm going to test it out to see if that theory works for me and if the car drives well once I get the car out of this garage. So the rear has about 14 clicks. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to say that back. It has 22 clicks to the hard setting, towards the hard setting, and the front have 20 clicks towards the hard setting. I'm going to test it out with that option and see if that works. Now, for the tools that I used today for this installation, I did my regular impact gun, a stronger impact gun, PB blaster, anti-seize. I used the coilovers tools to adjust the coilovers. We have some impact sockets, some regular sockets ranging from 12 to 19. I have the T30 screw, the T5 Allen. The Allen is used to adjust the camber on the strut mounts. For the front, we have the torque wrench, which I torqued all the bolts. Fronts are 67 pounds and rears are 51 pounds. We have breaker bar, we have the cheater bar, we have a pry tool, hammers, mallet, and regular hammer. We have a 14mm closed-ended socket. We have the 19mm closed-ended wrench, sorry, both are wrenches. We have a socket wrench or a spanner, trim removal tool, and flathead. So those are the tools that I use basically to do this job. I'm sure you could do it with less tools than this. I just found that it was easier for me to use these tools. I don't know. I just have tools, so I'm going to use it. Now, with that being said, I'm going to show you the complete project here. So if you look, we're going to start with the passenger side. The passenger side has the front, which is looking awesome. Then now we're going to go down to the rear side, also looking awesome there. Then we're going to switch it now. I'm going to switch it to the front driver side. Same thing, looking great. And now the rear side, which is also looking awesome. The wheel wells are looking super great with the updates that we're doing there. Now with the brake kit and the coilovers, it's looking more like a track car under there. We still are going to continue with the suspension segment, and there's going to be more suspension upgrades towards performance going to be done to the rear. If you saw in the previous shots that I just did showing the passenger side, if you could just see where the error is, then you'll know that in the next episode we're going to have a lot of trouble removing the next upgrade that needs to be added to this rear section of the suspension segment. If you want to see what upgrades are next in the next episodes, go to my TikTok page or my Instagram page, which is dro_A.S.A.P_garage. The A.S.A.P is going to be A.S.A.P, and that's going to show you a preview of what the next episode is going to be. I'm still going to continue launching episodes 2 times a week, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Click the notification button so you can see what's there. Also, like, comment, subscribe. Give me some comments there. I want to see what you feel about these videos and how I can make it better to entertain you. Any feedback counts. So these were the coilover installs of the D2 RS for the 8th Gen SI. And this was your boy Dro. Peace.